All right, ready for this? We're going deep on a story, really captivating the birth of Prophet Isa, but from an Islamic perspective.
Really fascinating, how this story challenges what we think is even possible.
Definitely a story rooted in Allah's power.
Oh, yeah. But it goes beyond just showing that power. It makes you think, like, what about divine intervention? How does that work in our lives?
So, Maryam, the sources describe her as super pious, chosen by Allah,
Mm-hmm.
raised by Prophet Zachariah, spent all her time in worship, prayer, like secluded in the temple.
Her being so pious, that's not just like background. It's key to her accepting what happens next.
Right, because imagine being chosen for something, well, something that seems impossible.
Miriam's devotion, that's what prepared her, to embrace Allah's will.
Even when it goes against everything.
Exactly.
And then an angel appears in the form of a man.
Wow.
Maryam obviously seeks refuge in Allah. Like,
Hmm.
how could this be happening? It's in the Quran, this moment of shock.
It is, and
Yeah.
it gets to the core of Islam, seeking refuge in Allah when you're uncertain, afraid.
And then the message, Maryam will have a son.
And think about it. She's so devout, lives a secluded life. This news would be,
Mind-blowing.
totally.
And she doesn't just blindly accept it. She questions the angel.
How could I have a son? No man has touched me, right?
Yeah, she wants to understand, even while acknowledging Allah's power.
A very human reaction in this divine moment.
And the angel responds, emphasizing Allah's ability. It is easy for me.
This is divine decree, part of Allah's plan.
Divine decree.
It makes you think.
It really does. The idea that things are preordained.
Like, what about free will then?
Exactly. But for Maryam, the confirmation's enough.
She submits to Allah's will.
Even though it defies all logic.
And then the miraculous birth.
Maryam goes to a remote place. The Quran describes her pain during labor.
Powerful. Even with divine intervention, human experience is still there. Raw emotion.
Right. And then another divine intervention, as she's in labor,
A voice.
from under a date palm tree,
Comforting her.
saying, shake the tree for food, there's a stream for drink.
Even in the toughest times, when we're doing Allah's will, we're not alone.
Shows Allah's care.
Absolutely.
But it's not over. Maryam comes back to her community, newborn son, and let's just say they are shocked.
I can imagine.
This was unheard of. Questions, accusations, disbelief.
Can you picture the scene? Young woman, newborn baby, against all societal norms.
So much tension. But Maryam, divinely guided, stays silent.
Powerful silence.
She points to the baby, Isa, and this is where it gets wild.
Mm.
Isa, a baby in the cradle, speaks.
It blows your mind, right? Isa speaking, it's more than just Allah's power. It's about Isa being a prophet.
Like destined from birth.
Exactly. His mission, divine, right from the start. Like, it's all planned out, even before he's born, Prophets are chosen, prepared.
Wow.
And Isa speaking so well as a baby, it's like the message is directly from Allah.
His existence proves Allah's will.
Powerful stuff.
From what he says. Isa calls himself a servant of Allah, a prophet, someone who will uphold prayer and zakah.
Big declaration. Even as a baby, he's committed to spreading Allah's message, the core of Islam.
He mentioned zakah so early on. Why do you think that is?
It's more than just, mentioning one of Islam's pillars. I think it hints at Isa's focus on social justice.
Oh, interesting.
Remember, Zakah, it's not just charity. It's about helping the poor, making society fairer.
So even in this miracle moment, the social justice message is there.
Yeah, it connects the spiritual to the real world, like how society should work.
Social justice is part of faith.
It's powerful, right? It says religion isn't just personal. It's about our responsibility to each other.
We have to act on our beliefs.
Exactly, make a difference.
What about Maryam's community? After Isa spoke, did they believe then?
Well, the sources don't say exactly what happened right after,
Okay.
but we know Isa's birth, his speech, these are signs from Allah. They must have had an impact.
I mean, how could you see that and not be changed?
Right. It must have been a huge moment, making them face their doubts.
The power of miracles.
They shake us up, challenge what we think is real, open us to something bigger.
We've talked a lot about the miracles, but Maryam, her role is amazing. So much challenge. But her faith never wavers.
It's central to the whole story. The Quran has a whole chapter for her, Sunnah Maryam, dedicated to her. Her piety, her submission, her strength.
Not many people get a whole chapter named after them. What does her story teach us about faith, about resilience?
To trust in Allah's plan, even when it seems impossible. To surrender, even when you don't know what's next.
That's powerful, especially today when there's so much uncertainty.
It's comforting, you know?
Yeah.
In moments of fear, faith can give you strength.
And it shows faith isn't passive. Miriam questions. She tries to understand. Then she chooses to submit.
She's active in her faith.
It shows her strength, her belief,
It's not about blindly obeying. It's about connecting with the divine,
seeking understanding,
wrestling with your doubts.
and then choosing to trust
That trust, that's what lets Miriam go through all this. It lets her accept the impossible.
and play her part in Allah's plan.
Powerful message for everyone, you know? Find that inner strength, that faith that gets you through tough times.
Okay, so miraculous birth, Isa speaking, Miriam's faith, the social justice message. Do we know where all this happened?
Well, the Quran doesn't say specifically,
Right.
but many believe it was Bethlehem, like in Christian scripture.
Like it matches up.
But for Islam, the focus is on the meaning, not the place.
The why, not the where.
Exactly, the deeper meaning behind the miracle, what it tells us about faith, about destiny,
About divine intervention.
and the impact it's had, shaping beliefs, inspiring people. It's part of history.
This makes me think we focus on the miracle, but it's just the beginning for Isa. What about his life, his teachings?
Isa becomes a prophet, his teachings are powerful, and he performs miracles by Allah's permission.
So, rooted in Islam, oneness of Allah, submitting to his will, any specific teachings that stand out to you?
Isa's message of love, compassion, forgiveness, that's powerful, especially today with so much conflict.
It goes beyond religion. Even if you're not Muslim, that message resonates.
It's universal, hope, a better world, love over hate, forgiveness for healing.
You mentioned miracles. What kind of miracles did Isa perform?
He healed the sick, gave sight to the blind, even raised the dead. Allah's power working through him.
Amazing. Imagine seeing those miracles.
The Quran describes them really vividly.
Like Isa making birds from clay, then breathing life into them.
It's like a story, but it's part of Islamic tradition.
Why do you think those miracles happen? Just to impress people?
No, they were more than just a show. They were signs, confirming Isa's mission from Allah, showing his power.
So they backed up his prophethood.
Yeah, proof in a world full of doubt, a real, tangible sign of the divine.
It makes sense. But it reminds us that there's so much we don't know about the universe.
It does.
Makes you think about the power that controls it all.
Miracles, they challenge what we think is possible, make us consider things we can't even understand.
It's humbling, you know? We don't have all the answers.
There are forces out there beyond our explanation.
And maybe that's part of faith. Accepting the unknown, trusting in something bigger.
Trusting something beyond ourselves.
Recognizing that we're limited, our knowledge keeps growing, there's always more to learn.
Always.
There's this Rumi quote I love. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there.
Beautiful.
Like there's something beyond our understanding, where logic and reason don't work the same way.
I love that. A space beyond our thinking where we connect with something deeper.
And maybe miracles like Isa's birth, the things he did, they give us a peek into that space.
A glimpse beyond our world.
Showing us possibilities we can't even imagine.
It's a beautiful way to see it. There's more to life than what we can see and touch. The spiritual world touches ours in ways we don't understand.
And that might be the key takeaway from all this. Isa's birth, it's not just the events, it's the deeper meaning.
Questions it raises.
It makes us think about faith and wonder.
The power of believing, the importance of compassion.
And how we can connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Connects with something bigger.
Thank you so much for your insights, for taking us through all this. It's been fascinating.
It really has.
Your knowledge, your thought, they've added so much.
It's been my pleasure, really. Your curiosity, your passion, it's inspiring.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us. This exploration of Isa's birth, we hope it's been enlightening.
We hope you've learned something.
You've been inspired by this amazing story.
Keep exploring these ideas, talk about them, try to understand the different faiths that make our world so rich.
We'll be back soon to wrap up our deep dive with some final thoughts about Isa's miraculous birth. Back again, deep diving into Isa's miraculous birth. It feels like we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, we've covered a lot, but there's always more to think about with Isa's life, his teachings.
Before we finish up, something's been on my mind. We talked about Isa's miracles, proving he's a prophet, showing Allah's power. But, how do those miracles work with how we see the world today? Science, reason, all that. How do you make sense of these, supernatural events?
Lots of people ask that. It's a good question. I think you got to remember, miracles in Islam, they're not meant to be explained by science. It's not about breaking them down.
Not like a science experiment.
Right. It's more about, our human limits. We can only understand so much.
So instead of forcing them into science, maybe we should just be amazed, you know? Admit there are things we'll never fully get.
Totally. Miracles push us to see what's possible, to realize there's a whole world beyond what we know.
It makes you feel small, doesn't it? Like we don't have all the answers. There are forces at work that we can't explain. And maybe that's part of faith, accepting that we don't know, trusting something bigger.
Trusting in something beyond us.
It makes you realize our view is limited. What we know is always changing. There's always more to learn.
Always more.
You know that Rumi quote, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there.
I do.
Like there's a place beyond what we understand, logic and reason don't always apply.
Beyond our usual thinking, a deeper connection.
And maybe miracles, like Isa's birth, what he did. They show us that place,
A glimpse beyond.
showing us what could be, things we haven't even thought of.
It's a beautiful way to look at it. There's more than just the physical world. The spiritual world, it touches ours even if we don't get how.
And that might be the big lesson from all this, with Isa's birth. It's not just what happened, it's what it means.
What it makes us think about,
Faith,
wonder,
the power of believing, being compassionate,
and connecting to something bigger than us.
something bigger.
This has been eye-opening, really. Isa's story, from his miraculous birth to his teachings to how he changed the world. I feel, I don't know, a sense of awe,
Me too.
a deeper appreciation for faith, for what humans can do.
It's an honor to explore this with you.
And to everyone listening, thanks for being here. This deep dive into Isa's birth, we hope it's been insightful, made you think.
And maybe even inspired you a bit.
We hope you keep exploring, keep asking questions, try to understand all the different faiths that make our world so interesting.
There's always more to learn. Until next time, keep your minds and hearts open. May your journey be full of those moments that inspire you, that make you discover something new. Farewell.
Farewell, and peace be upon you.